We've already seen how complicated the exploitation phase can be. You have to go and find an exploit that somebody else wrote if you don't want to write it yourself, get the code, run it. Hopefully the code will successfully run. More often than not, it will actually fail. You will have to edit the code, change a few parameters. So that means you need to understand how to read and edit code, sometimes even how to compile code. And usually these exploits will be written for a specific operating system. So the person that wrote that exploit, for example, has tested it on a specific Linux, a specific Unix, a specific version of Windows, and then you're going to have to adapt it and customize it to your own target environment. All of this makes exploitation, or used to make exploitation, quite difficult. Lucky for us, a new tool came up that put all of this customization work and all of this heavy lifting in the past. And this tool is called Metasploit. You might think for the first instance that this is an exploitation tool, and you will be right to think that. This is one of the main purposes that Metasploit is used for. It's used for exploitation. Having said that, keep in mind that it's called Metasploit Framework. It's a framework of multiple different modules that serve different purposes, not just for exploitation. Yes, this is what it's mostly famous for and it's what's mostly used for. However, that's not the sole purpose of Metasploit. As you will come to see, there are multiple different uses for Metasploit. For example, it has auxiliary modules, and these auxiliary modules can be used for things like port scanning, password guessing, even vulnerability scanning. And then after you exploit the target, there are some actions that you would want to perform. We mentioned one of these, for example, escalating your privileges. When you end up getting in as a non-root or a non-administrator user, you want to escalate your privileges to become administrator or root. How do you do that? With a lot of these techniques, when we use the module that is called post-exploitation. Not only that, but the post-exploitation module also has features that will allow you, for example, to grab passwords off the system, to implement backdoors, and so on. Unfortunately, we do not cover privilege escalation and the post modules in Metasploit in this course because this is a beginner's course. We do, however, cover them in other advanced courses. The same goes for encoders, NOPs, and evasion. These are modules that we talk about and cover in other courses. For this course, however, you will be seeing the auxiliary module, the exploits module, and the payloads. We'll talk about payloads more when we get to it. In a nutshell, it's basically the action that you want your exploit to perform. Now with Metasploit, as with any other tool, there are some options and some commands that you can run. Here is some of the commands that we will cover. These commands can be of two categories. The first category is called the core commands. These are the commands that you can run when you launch Metasploit, and of course we'll be seeing practical examples of each and every one of them. This is just to show you very briefly what is it that we're going to cover. And these are some of the commands that we're going to cover. So with Metasploit, one of the core commands is the question mark. That will show you a long list of all the commands that you can run. Out of these commands, today we're going to be exploring 3 commands: the sessions, the set, and the unset. The sessions command will allow you to manage the sessions that you get when you compromise a target. So when you compromise a target, you would have created a session with that target that you just compromised. How do you manage this session? What is it that you can do with it? You can control it through the sessions command. We will also explore the set and unset commands, and these are commands that we can use to configure the parameters of the exploits that we're going to be using. Speaking of the exploits that we're going to be using, as I already mentioned, one of the modules in Metasploit is called the exploitation module, and this is where you have thousands upon thousands of exploits that you can use. Before you use these exploits, however, there are a few main things that you need to be able to do. For example, 1, you need to be able to search for an exploit. How are you going to use an exploit if you don't know if it exists in Metasploit? Not all exploits are available in Metasploit. So how do you find whether an exploit is available in Metasploit or not? You use the search command. If you want to find more information about the exploit, you use the info command. To use an exploit, you use the use command. To see how you can configure an exploit and what options you can change, you use the options command. And to leave the exploits module and go back to other modules, you can use the back command. So as you can see, Metasploit usage is pretty intuitive. So you think that, for example, I want to use an exploit, you use the use command. Now obviously this will all get much easier and clearer when we do the practical exercises. So without any further delay, let's get into it.